Both the U.S. and Chinese governments are really trying to keep the Huawei issue, whether that's the FCC ruling, whether that's ongoing efforts to limit Huawei's growth in the U.S. and allied countries, really trying to keep that separate from the trade negotiations.
All right, let's say that they can keep it separate from the trade negotiations. How are the markets responding to these particular headlines? There's been many accusations out there from perhaps frustrated traders that this seems like a manipulated market based upon all these headlines. What is it that investors and traders have to focus on more to avoid all of the noise associated with some of these trade headlines coming out, whether they are positive or negative?
You hit the nail on the head there. The issue is being able to separate signal from noise, and the market honestly has not done a good job of that day to day. Great example would be President Trump's comments at the NATO summit in London, where he said, look, I don't necessarily need a trade deal until after the election. Okay, great, but markets took that very, very negatively, but look at that in context. He said things like that before. More importantly, he said things like that towards the end of almost every negotiation his administration's been involved in. So there's an issue of being able to separate what's important from what's not. Huawei is certainly a very important issue, but I think the more overriding thing to watch, the thing that investors and traders should really be following, is how is each side framing this? The Chinese are obviously concerned about the political framing of a deal domestically. That's why they're pushing for tariff rollbacks. They want to be seen as getting just as good of a deal as the U.S. is getting, and President Trump has made it pretty clear that that's not his intention. He doesn't want a one-for-one trade.
What is the U.S.'s strategy right now, Clayton, with regard to how you tackle these negotiations heading towards a tariff deadline, if you will, a soft one at the very least, of December 15th? And then how exactly do those talks then kind of play out in the early part of 2020? And do we believe President Trump when he says he doesn't maybe want to do a deal until before, or rather after, the 2020 election cycle?
So I would start with your last question. I think absolutely President Trump does have some political advantage to holding off from a deal, a full, let's get together, sign a piece of paper, start rolling back some of the actions we've already taken. Absolutely, he does have political advantage to delaying that, because the minute he signs anything like that, he's immediately going to take criticism that this was a capitulation to China, that he didn't get enough, that he wasn't pushing as hard as he should. By the same token, though, December 15th tariffs maybe can be delayed separate from that. We've seen Trump delay tariff implementations before to make room to negotiate, to try and get a better deal. And if that's what investors are looking for, if investors heading into the end of this year are really concerned with, can we avoid these December 15th tariffs, that's still on the table, but a deal, quote unquote, might not be.